Oh, this is so weird. I might have to refresh my screen. I don't know if that's going to take me out of here or not. And hello, JMJ. I see your comment. I don't know what's going on. Okay, wait. I see something. Press V. No. So weird. Okay, I'm going to try to access it on my phone. Sorry, give me 1 minute because I don't know what's going on with this thing. It won't show my face, but I would like to. Let me see if I can try something else and see if I can get it to work. Bear with me just a second. Okay, let's test it out. And let me know if you can hear me at all. Oh, this is so weird. Okay, Leotis Brown, hello. I don't know what is going on with this. I can see everything else but me. This is so weird. Okay, I'll try to see if I can access from my phone and do it this way. And it was going so well, guys, with Restream. So let's see. Let me go to YouTube and see what happens here. I don't know if I'll be able to access it from my phone, but someone did test it out for me yesterday. Mobile device supports. Okay, so it looks like I can access from my phone. So I will just act like I'm joining my own live. This is so weird. Goodness. Oh my goodness, this is a mess. Okay, so I don't know if you guys will be able to hear me or what, but let's try it this way and see what happens. Can you guys see me and hear me okay? Because oh boy. Let me know if you can see me. Okay, Leotis says, okay, Leotis can hear me all right. I guess let me back up a little bit because I feel like my face is right. Well, on the phone, it looks so weird. Okay. Okay, cool. JMJ. Perfect. So bear with me. I'm going to try to look at the camera as much as I can, but my phone is down here and the stuff I want to show today is up on my computer screen. So bear with me if I'm not looking into the camera. I see you, but trying to do a balancing act here. Does this platform replace StreamYard? I'm not familiar. Educate me when you get a sec. Yes, so this is replacing StreamYard for the moment. I'm testing out Restream because I basically ran out of hours with the free version of StreamYard. So I started looking for something as an alternative to test out, and I've been testing this out. Yesterday it worked really well. So I don't know what in the world is going wrong today, but my mic was not being accessible from my computer for whatever the reason. So I'll have to check out what's going on there. But it is a free platform, but then you also have different packages just like StreamYard. So we'll see how things work out. And I see you saying you can see me now. Okay, cool. Yes. Nice. Okay, thanks, Leotis. All right, so I wanted to address this topic, and I will be talking about more later this week. I'll be talking about how white women actually get paid more than black women. And so I got some details on that coming up soon. I think that discussion is happening on Thursday. But today I want to talk about how colorism actually affects both men and women. And I am talking about the black community, but I am using some data as well from like how it affects the Hispanic community and immigrants also. So there's a couple different studies out there that are basically showing what I think a lot of us kind of know or have been thinking, deep in the back of our heads, wondering, okay, am I getting paid less because I'm black or because I'm Hispanic or because I'm whatever? But then also, am I getting paid less because I am a certain color? Right? So I did include one of the links I will be referring to, one of the articles I refer to. It is a very lengthy study. So if you have some time and want to read through it, feel free. That should be in the About section. But I'm going to provide a couple of highlights. Now, I did not read detail by detail. I'm not going to lie to you and say I read every single detail, but I did skim through this study that was done. I also came across some other articles that are basically showing that skin color it is present in how much a person actually gets paid in the workplace. So we're going to take a look at that today. Hello, Swarty Davis. I saw you come in here. Hey, Paolindo is in here too. Hey, welcome to the chat. I'm light-skinned man with black soul. That's okay. That's good, Paolindo. I mean, obviously, you guys know me. I welcome everybody into my chats. We talk about different things, hopefully with the intent to learn about how some of these things affect us, especially in the workplace. So, yes, I know that, Paolindo, and you are very welcome. And hello, Swarthy. Welcome in. I see you. And hello, Latanya. Okay, we got some folks in here. So I see Sharky. Yes, Sharky is in here as well. So Sharky was actually the one testing out Restream with me. Sharky, accessing from my phone was an easier process than accessing from my computer today. So I don't know what's going on with Restream. I'll continue to test it out, but I thank you yesterday for coming up on the screen and testing things out for me, and also talking about your upcoming channel and all of that cool stuff. So appreciate it. Just here to listen and learn today. That's cool. That works for me. All right, so let me go ahead and jump into it. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Let me see if I can actually do that, if I have access to do that, because, this thing has been playing around. All right, so let's see if this pulls up here. We'll see. Okay, let me make sure this is in the screen. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Let's see if I can make this bigger at all. Oh, that is not, I don't like that. I don't like that, guys. What is that? Okay, I'm just going to be smaller here. So, okay, this is the article that I referenced in the link below. And there are a couple different charts and figures in this full study that was done, but I really want to zone in on this. So basically, the premise of this article is that colorism exists in the workplace. So it's not just that, in a lot of workplaces, they need to look at pay equality and gender equality, but there's also this thing of colorism within that. So it's not just about paying Black and Hispanic and Asian and whatever the equivalent for the same job, right? It's not just about paying women equally to men, but now we also are undercovering, I guess going into this issue of colorism and how it actually plays out into the workplace. So it's very interesting. So when you look at one of the figures of some of the data that was looked at, let me see. I don't know if I can make this a little bit bigger. Let's see. Let me zone in here. Okay, that might be a little bit better for folks. So they wanted to really dig into what does it look like with pay, because we've seen a couple of studies I referenced about the treatment of, Black and brown people, specifically Black women, Black men, and how they get treated unfairly. They're talking about discrimination that happens. We learn about that stuff. But if you look at this figure, zoning in, and they break it out by so they're looking at all Black people. So this is skin tone breakout of Black people. So we're looking at everybody. Then they break it out by light skin, medium skin, and dark skin. And they actually use standard deviations and these different numbers that basically equate, what is light skin, what is medium skin, what is dark skin. So there is an actual scientific approach to that, right? But I think we generally know, in the Black community at least, what light skin, medium skin, or dark skin would be. For folks in the chat that are not of that community, it basically, if you were to think of just a brown paper bag, like back in the day folks would put lunch in a brown paper bag. If you think about that bag color as like a medium, that would be that medium skin tone. So basically kind of a neutral brown color. Then you kind of go on this spectrum where you would take that brown bag and move it towards something that was more, lighter stone. So like if you think of the average European American or white American, like a piece of paper, right? So you go closer to that spectrum, that would be light skin. And then as we get away from that, going back to that medium, that brown paper bag, and you approach skin tones that look like mine. So getting closer to, I wish I had something black, but I don't. But the deepest, blackest, darkest hue of color, those are going to be the folks in the dark skin category. And so you see this across different groups: Hispanics, Asians, particularly Indian people, and obviously African people or Black people here in the United States. So biggest thing I want to dig into. Interestingly enough, when you look at the numbers and you were to look at all of the people, when you break things out and you look at men and women, and so everybody is the Black color. So this is, I don't know if you can see my mouse here, but hovering in the Black color, that is everybody. So that's everybody, including the gender. So it's men and women, right? And then when you look at the light tone here, that grayish tone, that's going to be the men. And then that darker hue right on the right-hand side, that is going to be the women. So you look at everybody lumped in together, all skin tones, and then you look at the genders. Okay, so you can clearly see that men are getting paid more than women. And we know that, right? We've talked about that on this channel. Pretty soon I'll be talking about white women and doing that comparison with Black women. But we can see that clearly. But then let's take a look at the other sections, right? So the biggest thing, like, what do you see that points out to you? What's the highest on here? When you look at the men, they are still getting paid more, but it actually is way more than these other sections. And I say significant just because, when you go to the dark skin, we're seeing 26,352 as that number. And then when you look at the lighter skin tone, again, we're looking at men, it's $36,777. So that would be, to me, about $10,000 more would be a significant impact for someone. Then you look at, the women, what happens with the women. So with women, it's not as significant, right? Because we're saying the dark-skinned women, they're still in that 20,000 range, generally. So we're looking at 22,000, getting close to 23,000 for dark-skinned women. And then we look at the lighter skin tone women, we're seeing about 27. So, there's a couple thousand, pay increase, which I will say isn't as significant as the men, but there's still a significant difference there. And the thought that it's just a skin tone difference is beyond me, right? And then we have the medium skin tone, which kind of has that little bit of balance. So instead of being in the 20,000s for the men, they've gotten to that 31,000 mark, right? So you're just about 5,000 difference from the lighter skin tones, right? And then when we look at the, just kind of all encompassing of both genders, we see that dark skinned folks, they're basically within that same range. They're, the men are making about 26, the women are making close to 23,000. And then it's bundled together, that average is about 24,000. So you're still in that 20,000s. But then you look at the lighter skin tones and you see the women, the difference with the women, 27. So they're kind of getting closer to the 30,000 mark. You see the men, they're beyond, well beyond 30,000, right? And then you look at that average, which is 31,000. So there is a significant impact, when you look between those averages, when it looks significant. Like if you were to take that medium skin tone out and put these two together, it would definitely look more significant. So that's really what I wanted to highlight in here. This article goes into a lot of detail. You actually have to click on each of these individually to see some of the breakouts here. But you can see they use standard deviations and variations to actually determine what is a light-skinned person, what is a dark-skinned person, what is that median. So there was actually some math. This was not just someone using my system of paper brown, paper bag or brown paper bag test. There was actual math that went into this study, right? So it's pretty significant to just think that we're not only being challenged with women getting paid less. We already know. I think the last percentage, I think it was like maybe 70% generally for all women. To every dollar that a man makes, women generally make about 70 cents. The statistics change, I think, every year. But yeah, that's already significant. And then to look at, okay, well, if you're a darker skinned woman, you're going to be paid less. If you're a darker skinned man, you're going to be paid less. So that is a significant amount. And I will be going over to look at some of the comments. Now, I will say, because one of the thoughts that I had was just looking at the dates. I think the study was ranging, they used data from like back to 2003 up to 2015. So just to kind of give some context there, at least that's what I was seeing. Again, I was skimming this article because it is very, very lengthy. But, this is the descriptive statistics. If you're really into stats, you may want to check out the full article and read through it. But it's an interesting study. So I'm interested to hearing, I'm going to go to the comments in a second to really understand, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts? And I do wonder if some of this impact might be from, people going to school and maybe just the family dynamics and all of those things. So I do want to study this a bit more of like, okay, generally with lighter to darker skin tones, is it that lighter skin tones generally come from maybe more educated families, which stems from a lot of the history in the United States, right? Or better, more wealth, because I have seen things about that. I have seen studies about the wealth, more of the wealth being held by lighter skinned Americans as well. So maybe this is a part of why, but then maybe it's more of the history and more of that trickle down effect, because you come from wealth, you're more likely going to go to college, you're more likely going to have better networking opportunities, which are going to lead you to better opportunities in the workplace, better marriage potential. So maybe you're marrying people of higher incomes and et cetera, et cetera. So kind of that trickle effect. So, yeah, I just wanted to bring that to you guys today because I was just like, one, it was very hard to find this type of study because there's a lot of data that just wants to go into men versus women, or, Black versus Hispanic versus white versus Asian, and what are people getting paid within that, but not a lot of data that really highlights, what about within the Black Americans? What are people getting paid, and how does colorism affect that? So this is one article that actually did study all of that. And so let me see here. This was kind of a highlight, and oh, forgive me. So they compiled studies from 1991 to 2015. So apologies for that. And so they used these different studies to, drive what those income levels were for the different Black populations. So they use it's a ton of information here. Again, if you're interested, please feel free to take a deep dive into that. I'm going to hide this just so I can bring myself back up on the full screen and look at some comments here, because I did see the comments going. But yeah, does that surprise any of you? I mean, did you already know this kind of stuff was happening? Have you experienced anything yourself as it relates to either feeling like you're underpaid or actually directly knowing that you were underpaid? And maybe the person happened to be of a lighter skin tone, or maybe you were the one getting paid more and that other person was of a darker hue. I am very curious to see if this actually has played out for anyone directly. Let me see here. JMJ said, gotcha, thanks. Aw. Thank you, JMJ. Yes, Restream and StreamYard. I will probably be doing a video comparison of the two just to break it down for you guys, because I'm like, all right. I learn something new every time I get on Restream. I'm like, all right, so I got to test out that camera for next time, right? Paolindo saying, I saw that comment earlier, Paolindo. What's up, my people? What's up, my peeps? So you said, oh, thank you, Paolindo. You said you like my mentality too. We are worldwide. Yes, definitely. We are all, human. I just like to bring up these things that try to divide us. It's ridiculous to think that something as simple as, someone having tanner skin, right? Because you walk outside. If I go outside or go to Florida for the weekend, I'm going to be darker. So is that going to make me lose more pay? Like, it's interesting. And then we get into things like attractiveness, which I've talked about before. We'll probably highlight more and more on this channel, because that's the thing too. When you think about colorism and you look for things, a lot of it is just focused on like beauty and like, the entertainment business. But I'm like, okay, well, how does that actually relate to us real people over here? Like, how does it relate to us? We're working regular jobs, right? We're living regular lives. Paolino says, okay, perfect. I can write. I can't see. Just I'm like a blind man. Oh my goodness. Hopefully you were able to see the table. I did try to make it a little bit bigger for you, for everyone in the chat to see. And if not, you can definitely go to the link. It should be in the about section if you want to dig in more. Again, I don't like to just come on here and be like, hey, I read this study and this is what it said. I want to actually tell you guys, like, this is the article, check it out for yourself, look at the data, right? My brain is kidding me. Oh my goodness, you're so funny, Paolindo. Okay, however, the topic of this video is really something new to me. It's really strange, right? And I can imagine, and Sharky, I want to say, was it Sharky or JMJ? Someone mentioned, because I don't have that perspective of a white American or white person in general, wherever they are in the world, of, if you see a Black person, do you recognize the color differences? But here's the thing too. If we judge based on European standards, then you probably are going to recognize someone's skin tone, even if it's not directly, because we talked about on this channel a couple of times about that unconscious bias, that stuff that you don't even realize that you're doing, right? So like, I walk down the street, someone of a darker skin tone, maybe a Black man walks towards me and maybe they're wearing saggy pants, a cap or something, that traditional stuff that says, oh, this is a thug, that we have learned to adapt to, right? well, if we're seeing on television, this is a thug and this is what thug looks like, and they're going to steal all your money, well, then that man starts approaching me. I shift my perch from my left to my right, and I start walking further away from him. And maybe I don't even realize I am doing that, right? So that's that unconscious bias, right? Or I see someone's name and I immediately think they're Hispanic. Maybe their name is Ramon Manuel or something. And I'm like, oh, well, and maybe I have a friend with that same name and they happen to be Mexican. And I automatically think they're Mexican. But what if they're, another Hispanic, like maybe they're from Puerto Rico or something. So that type of biases do exist. So does that, I don't know, for like a white American, do they even maybe realize they are doing it? Do they notice that someone's, lighter skin, dark skin, or do you just say like they're black, or brown, whatever? I don't know. I don't know what the, mental, and, it could be different for everyone. Definitely could be. Nothing but love on all of the above. Oh, thank you, JMJ. Thank you. I love all shades of blackness. Appreciate that. Appreciate it. It's one of the many unfortunate aspects of life in America. Definitely, JMJ. It's very unfortunate. But it's like, what do you do? Like, how do you change it? And so for me, my thought to change these type of things is to literally have set pay for everyone. Like everyone starts at this level, but then when I start to dig into that deeper and I think about promotions that happen and different things that happen during your career that lead you to more income, it's a challenge because I think there is a lot of biases that happen outside of colorism, right? It's like, favoritism that can come into play, or this person has a family and this person doesn't. We've talked about that. Well, I don't know if we talked about that, but I've definitely talked about it away from the channel about, younger people or someone that doesn't have kids, and is there bias that comes into play with them taking time off versus someone else, or with their pay. I've even heard different conversations of, well, this person has a family, they need to get paid more, and things like that happen. So I don't know if that's really the answer. JMJ, yes, $10,000. 10,000. Yes, that's a significant difference. Like, I mean, I think we would miss that money if someone took $10,000 away from us. We would miss that money, right? Paulino says, yeah, I mean, I know something about the colorism in the States. I have read Black Boy. Oh, that's a good book by Richard Wright, and other books talking about colorism too, but it's so bizarre to me because there is not in Italy. When in Italy, from my personal experience when I was there, I did not see a full range of colors. And then of course, when you're a visitor, you don't know all the ins and outs of what's going on in that society. But I did see, interracial couples. I saw Black women with Italian men. I saw a couple of those beautiful women. I remember thinking, like, where do they get these women from? I'm like, what are they, models? Like, what's going on here? But yes, you do see that. But a lot of those women were darker skinned. So I don't know if you would have seen that full range of, spectrum. That was years ago though. So I don't know. Things could have changed. But it's nice to hear you, Paolindo, saying you don't really see the colorism happening. But I do wonder, because I would love to ask someone, I would love to ask Black people in different countries, like, do you feel colorism happening? I think if we ask people in Africa, they're definitely going to say yes. Definitely going to say yes, because I see people lightening their skin tone and bleaching heavily in different parts of Africa. And you don't do that. Like, you see it in Africa, you see it in India heavily, and you don't see that unless there's some type of gain typically from doing that. People, when you're kids, you don't kind of, when you're 2 years old, 3 years old, say, I want to be lighter. No, you learn that behavior because you see some benefit of being lighter, or you see that this is better. Someone's telling you either directly or indirectly that this other color is better. JMJ is saying a 5K difference. Yep, exactly, exactly. It's crazy. Colorism started, from what I understand, during slavery. Yes, Leotis Brown, definitely. There's definitely that, history of, and of course, going back to being closer to whiteness or European, um, that look, how do white people treat us? So traditionally, the lighter skinned, which oftentimes, that white men are the women. And sometimes it was like a whole mistress dynamic thrown in there. I've read books on it. Like I'm like all kinds of scenarios were going into play. Sometimes the women were like, we got to do this because my kids will be treated better. Like, there's all types of dynamics that were going on. But traditionally, it stemmed from the R-ing of the women. I don't want to say the word because I don't want YouTube to see my video or take it down. And also the breeding mentality of breeding more of the slaves. And so a lot of times the master would breed with the women as well. So a lot of different things happen. And so you get the mixed babies, and then this trickle effect of lighter skin toned and darker skin toned folks. And then within that, those that were, offspring of the master being brought into the house or getting a lighter treatment, or the master saying, these are the better ones, and all of that. And so all during that time, you're being told that white is better than you. And so that closeness to whiteness, you're seeing it play out, and then that kind of, it brainwashes you over the years. So we then take that on. We teach our children this. They teach their children this, and then and here we are today, right? It's deep, but how do we get away from it? It's like, how do you get away from, treating people differently based on the skin tone? Because it is a visual thing. People treat people based on the visuals all the time. And I recognize it on my channel. I do wonder, even with my career, would I get certain opportunities if I looked a certain way? If I was bigger, maybe, or if I looked different than what I do. Maybe if I were less attractive. What if I were more attractive? Like, would I get more opportunities and things like that? Or if I was thinner, would I get more opportunities? If I was bigger, would I get less opportunities? So all of that thing comes into play because of the visual. And so colorism, I feel like it won't fully go away, but I do hope it goes away from the pay perspective and from the treatment perspective. Like I do want those things to change, but I think from a visual standpoint, we judge naturally. Humans, we are looking, our brains are constantly working, whether we know it or not, and we're taking in all kinds of signals. We take in colors different types of way. Like there's a reason why a lot of restaurants, fast food restaurants, like McDonald's, they use red. They use red colors because it signals to our brain, oh, we're hungry. It kind of is like that aggressive kind of color. It's that passion color. It's that, okay, go. It's interesting that red is used in the stop signs because red is kind of like, you're hungry. It's that driving color. It's that passion. It's all of that. And so you'll notice, if you look at a lot of restaurant brands, they use red for a reason. So we're constantly judging based on the visuals. So I don't know if it can change. I really don't know. Sharky says, yeah, I know. That's so sad, bizarre. And I think that only a criminal mind can create this stuff. It's like, if you think of it, it's all very tough. It's like all tough to decipher. It's kind of like you create this big monster, and then how do you do anything about it at this point, right? Leota says, I'll have to read the article. Yes, check it out, and check out all those tables and all the charts in there. It is deep. I actually have to study more on it so I can come with another video, because I feel like I've gone to this article 2 or 3 times, and the first time I saw it, I was like, what? And it was just too much information. I was like, I'm not reading all this. And I came back to it, and I came back again, and it's like, wow. Wow. Are you talking 30,000? Yeah, so it looks like annually. And again, they took from 1991 up to 2015, and these were the trends. Like this was consistent, like lighter skinned people, lighter skinned Black Americans, regardless, men and women, were getting paid significantly less. And so they were taking all these different averages. So it's a lot of time and effort went into the study. I'm like commending these folks. I'm like, oh, I don't think I would have done all that work. Let me see. I hope the new generation can grow fighting against these things, racism, colorism, and so on. Oh, for sure. Real brother, hello, hello. Oh, I didn't even realize that was you making that comment. Hey, real brother, how are you? I haven't seen you in a little minute, which makes me think you have been hard at work, which is a good thing. So, how are things going? And JMJ is talking to Paolindo. I know I saw a comment, I think from Swarthy. I'm trying to look for it. I saw you, Swarthy, but I'm trying to catch up. JMJ is saying, yes, the layers of impact are definitely significant factors with this study, but still absolutely inexcusable. Right, exactly. Like, I'm sure there's a lot that impacts it, but it's just, how do you get to that big of a gap? It's similar to like the women and men. So there's things like negotiating and all of that stuff. But it's interesting. And again, I'm going to talk about this, I believe on Thursday is scheduled with white women and white or Black women. You typically would say, well, they're probably not negotiating enough. But that's not the case. It's very interesting. Very interesting. So I'm going to I found a couple of articles. One really breaks things down pretty well. Hey, Harold. Harold came in here. Hello. Harold says, I think I'm beautiful, just not as pretty as you. Harold, you are hilarious. Oh my goodness. Hey, Paige. Hello. Welcome in. How are you? Just popping in to support. We'll have to rewatch to catch up on the subject. Oh my gosh, please do. And please do join for the conversation on Thursday, because I'm going to be getting into another interesting topic about pay and inequalities in pay. Harold said, just wanted to give you another thumbs up. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. And Swarthy says, thugs don't scare me. LOL. Well, I will tell you, like, I have recognized these things myself, and I have to admit, I recognize that I do have some unconscious biases when I see a certain person. If I see a guy dressed a certain way, there is an immediate unconscious bias. And because I've gone through multiple unconscious bias trainings and D&I trainings and have led D&I sessions myself, I can recognize them. And it's like, Jessica, why are you thinking this? It's because of everything that I've learned through media, through, history even, because let's be honest. There is a certain profile that you see in music all the time. Like if you're hearing a rapper dressed a certain way saying, I'm about to do this and that and rob the such and such. And it's like all of that gets into your psyche. And so it's kind of a situation where, okay, if we don't want to be seen a certain way, we as a people, as Black people, cannot allow artists and things to go about saying these things about themselves, because what happens is you're continuing to portray that stereotype, right? And so what happens is, though, it goes beyond they're dressed a certain way to they're a Black man. It goes beyond that. And the same with Black women, like that whole video where BLM had that video of the girl twerking on the Washington Memorial. Like that gets me every time. I get a little riled up about it, because it's like they did that on Martin Luther King holiday weekend, and it's like, this is not celebrating Dr. King. This is making a mockery, in my opinion. And so when you have those stereotypes in action, and the community does not say, hey, you can't do that, this is messing up our image, we are not going to support this, and we're pulling our money away. When you see that not happening, people continue to do that and make money off of this. So until that stops, I think we're still going to have certain biases, even within our own community. Because you see me, I'm a Black woman, and I recognize the bias. I've talked about this. Like, I'm attracted to generally multiple types of men. Like, I don't have a set profile. Like, I only like, I go into generalities like tall, handsome, yada, yada. So, even with that, with attractiveness, there could be some bias that plays into that. It is every part of our lives. It's wild. It is wild. The real thugs run the. I love that comment. Right? Exactly. But again, it's the imagery. It's all about that imagery, right? That's the thing. All right, let me see, because I think I'm losing some of my comments. Swarthy said that's a word, right? That part, exactly. I went into a field where pay is based on degree and years, steps. See, so the interesting thing is, for a really long time, it was like taboo to talk about your compensation, like to talk to someone else about compensation, right? So a lot of times people wouldn't even know if someone else was getting paid more than them. But now you're seeing more and more people are becoming more open to talking about, what their salary and what their compensation is and what they're getting. So I think having some conversations about that will help. And yeah, pushing companies to really focus it on like the degree. Like if we're saying we need this degree, okay, so that's that pay amount. And then if they have a certain years of experience, this is what they'll be paid. And as they get more and more, if they get a certification, this equates to this. So more of like a mathematical equation set up to where we can actually base it on real things versus, they negotiated more. We have to start getting away from that at some point if we really want to solve these different pay gaps between men and women and different races and colors and hues and everything else, whatever else you can think of. Right. It's interesting, right? Um, objection. Mr. Rice says objection. Hey, Mr. Rice, how are you? But here, an interesting spin. I noticed that schools in certain neighborhoods, parts of the country, hire teachers that look a certain way. Really? For example, okay, I can't wait to see this. Let me get to this example. And I could believe that. I can totally believe that because, again, visuals matter. I remember my mom told me she got a job one time or she was going to have a job. Someone offered her a job. She wasn't looking for a job. She was walking somewhere. And this lady was like, "Oh, you look like you would make a really good receptionist for us," and da 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 da. And she was trying to talk my mom into a job because of my mom said because it was how she was looking. Like she looked nice, and the lady told her, like, you look nice and presentable and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, so they were trying to give you a job because you weren't even looking. And she's like, yeah. And it's like, wow, that's nice. Imagine that you just like walk into a job because someone's like, ooh, you're looking good. Here's some money. Like, take this job and just sit there and look nice. We're going to pay you for it. I'm like, sign me up. Sign me up. Okay, so Swarthy says more affluent areas hire young white or young Black attractive teachers, whereas in lower income areas, the teachers are older and have bullet holes. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Wait. Wait, okay. Okay, Swarthy. I wasn't ready. I was not ready for that comment. Oh my gosh. Okay, so they oh my gosh. So they hire people that have bullet holes. I can't even get it out. Why, Swarthy? Why? You set me up. You set me up for that. I could definitely see that because if you think about affluent, right, neighborhoods, it's all about the prestige, right? It's all about how do you look? How are you presenting the family? All of that. So I could imagine that in the affluent areas, they pick people that have gone to certain schools, right? Like only all of our teachers come from yada, 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 because they can charge more. It makes it more, prestigious, right? So all of our teachers come from, I don't know, Princeton or I don't know. I'm just making it up. And they are very professional, blah, 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 blah. Like they're going to have a certain presentation. I saw this a lot generally, again, working at the PR firm I worked at. We hired a lot of very attractive people, especially when you looked at the women. The women were very attractive. And I told you guys on my channel, one of the pieces of advice or feedback I got from a manager was like, you're attractive and you can do whatever you want. I'm just like, what is this? What kind of feedback is this? Like, what do I need to do to get the promotion? Like, am I doing all right? Like, and I was just starting out in my career, so I was really like, this doesn't feel like a regular feedback conversation. But in certain places, like if you think of anything where you're going to be in a newsroom, you're going to be on camera, I could imagine this is the time. And I told you with putting a photo on a resume, that could be a time where you want to put a picture on the resume because you're going to be like, if you're modeling, you're in a newsroom, you're something on camera, that is the only time where you're going to be like, hey, you're selling your beauty, right? Selling your looks for a guy. But that's very interesting, Swarthy. Very interesting. Mr. Wive, no two penis today. What? Oh, you guys did have a joke going on before, you guys. Swarthy says there is bias as it relates to looks in certain work environments. Definitely. Now, I know I made a video from like 2020 where like early 2020, I'm pretty sure I made a video talking about attractiveness and how it does affect the workplace. And you know what? I don't know. Swarthy, folks in the chat, would you guys want to hear me talk about how wearing makeup and attractiveness in the workplace, actually women get paid more? I've actually looked at studies. Again, I did a conversation. I don't think it was a conversation. I think it was just a video where I talked about how attractiveness for women, actually you can earn more money if you are more attractive. And I've actually seen this play out for myself. I had a period of time where I wasn't as consistent about like wearing makeup and like wearing the heels to work and getting my silk press. This is not a silk press. This is flat iron by Jess. But I was consistent because I found out like, oh, I can earn more money by wearing makeup. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm doing that. And so I actually did that. I started to do it and I actually did get like a promotion and things happened for me. Now I will say other things were a part of that too, but I think that that sort of stuff helps. I definitely do. And for men, I know I got men in the chat, we talked about your height. When you're taller, you get paid more. You get better promotions, better opportunities. A lot of the leadership suites, the C-suites, are tall men. Tall white men, but tall men. But if you think across the board, like every leadership team across the US and across the world is not, white men. There are plenty of billionaires I talked about on my channel before with trivia in Africa. Plenty of, African men that are billionaires or very wealthy. Tall men, right? Tall. You got to be tall. Why is that? And yes, Worthy is speaking the truth. I 100% believe her. Miss Daisy, wow, really? That's so messed up. Attractiveness in the work, it's very true. You get you generally get more. Now, I will tell you guys this. This is away from what we were started out talking about. I do find that I get more just in general if I look more attractive. Um, simple example, going to the grocery store. Literally, if I do a little something, like I'm not wearing foundation today, but I did some clean my, did some eye makeup, make sure my hair's straight, put some lipstick on or lip liner or whatever. You guys know, I'm not going to do a makeup tutorial, but I do simple things. But when I do a little effort versus like, oh, I'm gonna put my hair in a ponytail and I'm gonna put on a t-shirt and I'm just going, right? I see the difference, and I even have gotten free stuff, just like, thanks, okay. And people are nicer, people are quicker to hold the door, moving in front of you to hold the door, right? These things happen because we are visual people. We judge people on attractiveness, women and men. Sometimes even women can be a little more judgy to other women on attractiveness. I think a lot of men think that women dress up just for men. No, we dress up sometimes for other women so that we're not judged, or we have to look better than the other woman and things like that. So it's very interesting. And even in the workplace, like, you dress up because the women in the office, it's like kind of like show and tell. Look what I got. Look how I look. And yes, Sharky, it is wild. JMJ says, so here's my take on racism as we know it today. There's intentional ignorance due to bias, fear, prejudice, bigotry, hate, etc. There is genuine ignorance. Both exist in every community. Oh, yeah, for sure. Because you know what's interesting, JMJ? In the Black community, I could be doing this video and providing all these stats and saying there's a difference between lighter skin and Black skin, and how we're treated and how we're paid and how we're this and how we're that. And there will still be actually Black people who understand racism, but they cannot understand colorism. They do not believe colorism. They do not believe if they are a lighter skin tone, there is any difference. Also, there have even been darker skinned folks that say there is no difference. There have been darker skinned men, there's no difference. We're just all Black and it's all the same and it's this and that. And it's like, but we're telling you, we have data on this, and no, people will not believe it. So it's interesting because a lot of times when we have these discussions, a lot of times it's like, it's the white man is so bad and this and that. But you see a lot of these issues in every community. So it's not like, and I dislike this phrase so much, the white man is trying to keep us down. It's like, what white man? What are you talking about? And yes, there are systemic things that are happening in this country, that have happened in this country and throughout the world, that affects everybody, including the people that, get most from the system. It affects all of us. But at the same time, it really takes away from it just takes away from the power that you have, right? And it also takes away from the things that we do within our communities that continue a lot of these effects of colorism and stuff. So let me see here, because I am about to approach my hour mark. Oh, Leotis, you said you like these discussions? Well, great. Well, I appreciate you joining. Join me. I have these discussions pretty frequently. So feel free to join anytime and offer your perspective. And if you want to rewatch it, or if you have thoughts later, just leave me a comment on either my community tab or on the video. If there's ever a topic you want me to cover, let me know. This is kind of what I like to do this is like my fun part. Like I get to do, research and stuff and talk to you guys about it. Paulindo agrees. Swarthy says, at my workplace, I noticed that I am used for due process meetings involving lawyers. Really? Just because I look younger than a few of the other ladies on my team. You know what, Swarthy? I'm going to talk about that soon. I've seen some interesting things. Black women generally, we look younger. And I don't know if you've experienced this, but I feel like sometimes we're treated like like we don't have the experience that we have. And yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting dynamic because I broadly looked at women in my office and I've been very surprised when you have the different anniversaries. And there was one instance where it's actually a mentor of mine. She's the same age as someone else in the office, and I'm like, what? And I'm looking at them side to side. I'm just like, where? It's just like, okay. So there is some significant. It's interesting how aging works, but generally Black women age really well. And so I think that when you look younger than you are, I don't think that helps you in the workplace. I don't think it helps you because people underestimate you. And the other end of the attractiveness conversation, sometimes for a woman, if you're too attractive, you can be underestimated. Like people don't trust what you're saying or think you're qualified or think you're knowledgeable in what you're talking about. So that's the downside of that too. But that's interesting, Swarthy. I I can see that. I can see that. But it's interesting that you're there for kind of show. Interesting. Racism equals pure ignorance. It is. It's ignorance, and it leads to hate. I think a lot of it is. I think a lot of it too, especially today, kind of focuses on like the fear of losing something, right? The fear of, oh, maybe I'm not so great just because I am blank. I'm white or I'm light skinned or whatever you want to put in the blank. Maybe we're all equal. Maybe I have to do more. Maybe this person is better than me in something. Losing a lot of that which you've learned over the course of the years. I think it's very interesting. And one day on this channel, pretty soon, I'm going to play that video by Toni Morrison where she's talking about that. What is white America without the racism? It's very interesting. I have to play that for you guys here soon. We all do the same job, but the higher ups ask me. I have a versatile look and can speak professionally when I am ready to. When you're ready to. I love that. Am I back yet? No? Oh gosh, guys. Having the time with the. Nope, I'm not. Well, in that case. Okay, I'm back here, but you're not going to be able to see me. I guess I'm going to have to shut the discussion down, but I will go ahead and read some comments. This is so weird. I've not ever experienced this with StreamYard. So hold on for anyone that's trying to switch over to Restream. Don't do it yet. So I'm going to try this again and see if I will be able to join via um, via my phone. We'll see. I don't know if I'll be able to. Oh, there I am. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna try to come back and see if this works. It like timed me out, I think. Okay, let's see. Okay, there I am. Let's see. Okay, I'm trying it again. Can you guys hear me okay? Technology, guys. And a restream. See, restream is getting a thumbs down tonight. Causing me all kinds of trouble. I might just have to pay for StreamYard because I love all the features in here. But if you can't see and hear me, and if it's gonna be all wonky just out of nowhere, that's not worth it. Um, Mr. Wise is hilarious. He's like, well, good night, everybody. Oh my goodness. Can you still hear the echo? Oh gosh. You still hear the echo? Hopefully not. Hopefully it's not echoing. Let me know if you can still hear the echo. Yes? Okay. I don't know what I can do about that. Let me go back down to see what folks are saying. I'm seeing the echo. No echo. Okay, no echo anymore. Okay, perfect. Cool. And just like that, all is well in the world. Oh my goodness, you guys are so funny. Hey, I love it though because I can chill with you guys. I can chill with you guys and just chat. Let me see. So, wait a minute. I saw a comment and then I lost it. Oh, okay. I see them. Okay. So, Leota said it's good to see different perspectives. This is true learning. Exactly. Like I love having a variety of people in my chat. So I can't see the other comments. I don't know if anyone left anything else that they wanted to share. Okay, I see. Watch out for the ones who have both beauty and brains. That is funny. Mr. Wise is saying yes. Experienced person will get better the job better than a person with just beauty. That's true. So it's like, we have all these biases, but does it really matter? It doesn't really matter, right? You can have all these biases, but at the end of the day, yes, you can hire someone that does all these things, but then, what happens in the end? Now, I will say too, a lot of things you can think about with the attractiveness factor. What happens with promotions? What happens when a person does mess up? And maybe they're more attractive or maybe they're more likable or something. And, that happens. So who knows? Oh, Mr. Wise is saying, invite me up. Mr. Wise, what are you going to add to the perspective? I was getting off of here soon, but I can include you. Oh, wait, no. I don't know. Let me see if this will work. Let me get to a couple more comments and then I'll bring you up, Mr. Rice, before I jump off. I just want to make sure I address everyone before we switch topics. Oh, okay. So a good segue, are men more apt to watching YouTube channels of women that look a certain way? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I have thought about that, because what if I got up here and I was like, not presentable, wearing a bonnet, I don't know. Just looking out any kind of way. Would another woman want to see another woman looking a certain way? Because I remember, and sorry, I'm going to go into another tangent, but I remember I was working at a company and there was this lady there, the sweetest older lady. She took care of facilities and things. and we would have just kind of side conversations. And she happened to talk to me about this show that we both watched. It was My Wife and Kids. And she was talking about how they switched out one girl for the other. You guys remember that? My Wife and Kids, they switched out one girl for the other. It was a darker skinned girl at first, and they switched her out for a lighter skinned girl, right? So there was a little controversy about that. Well, she said, no, that girl was just ugly. No one wants to watch people on TV that are ugly. And I'm just like, she looked fine to me. Like, what are you talking about? But it did raise a good point about her comment of no one wants to see someone on TV that's ugly. And this is a woman saying that. So will do other women gravitate to other women that maybe look like them or look attractive? And I will say I do. I do. I notice, I realize that like if I look at a woman or a girl, look, I have a new friend or something, if they're more attractive, I recognize that I gravitate to them a little bit more. If they have their nails done, I don't have my nails done right now. They get their hair done, if they're wearing makeup, if they're dressed a certain way, I recognize that. And then Shorty says that's the way of the world. Yes. Being attractive helps. Okay. I think I got all the comments. So I'm going to bring up Mr. Wise and see if this works. Mr. Wise can help us test out StreamYard. Hey there.
Hey, what's up?
What's up? What do you have to share? Do you agree or disagree with what we've been talking about?
I kind of disagree and agree with some of the things that you were saying.
Okay. What do you agree with?
I agree with most of the stuff that you were saying about beauty and how and like and like the overall jobs that you have to get yourself through with just the beauty of it.
So you agree with so you agree with the beauty part of the conversation. Do you agree with the lighter tone people making more than darker skinned people?
No,
Black
that
people.
I don't agree with that.
Even after seeing the data.
Even after seeing the data, I don't.
See, and this goes to my point earlier about people not really
Uh,
believing so much about colorism.
my job because at my job, um, or let's just say look at um, not always about statistics, right? It's not always about that because you have to actually go out and look at these things for yourselves and just experience these things. Statistics can't tell you what what they're actually what's actually going on, right?
I disagree because there is a lot. Here's the thing, companies do not put money into data and statistics if it doesn't mean anything, right? So, and I can tell you as a recruiter, some of the biggest jobs right now are data analysis, data architecture, roles that will pull all this data and put it into a visual story so that people can understand, okay, there are 3 million people that are willing to buy a hybrid car right now. What do we need to do for our business as we're Mercedes Benz? We need to come out with an electric vehicle. So the data, now you can manipulate data to tell a certain story. However, at the base of the data, if the data is telling you that of this sample of people from 1991 up to 2015, and we're using the standard deviation. We're not just going off of, they look light skinned to me, so they're like, we're going off of an actual process of
Okay.
qualifying what is light skin, what is medium skin, what is dark skin. And they are literally showing this is what I make as a salary, and this is what people have made over a salary for a period of time. I can't, as a representation of like where I work, maybe I worked 15 different places, maybe I worked 20 different places. This is my experience. I do not, as an individual employee, see everyone's salary information. I can go off of what someone tells me, but oftentimes I know this as a recruiter and I know this as HR generalist as well as former roles I've had. Typically, people can tell you that they make a certain pay, but a lot of times that's inflated. Either they're going to tell you, most oftentimes they make a little bit more than what they actually make, especially men, or they might tell you a little bit less depending on who you are. If they don't want you to really know it, if I was like making, I'm making like $250,000. I know my cousin Ray Ray is gonna ask me for some money. I'm be like, no, I make about make a
But
little bit
why?
around like 100K. I make a little bit around there, but I got these bills, Ray Ray. I got these bills. So I'm not going to tell them exactly. And that's what typically
Why?
happens. So
But
if you're going off of what someone tells you, that's something else. If you're going off of what you make, that's your own experience. If you're going off of the jobs that you've had, that's your specific industry. So it's really hard for me as an individual, me, Jessica, to, off of my story, say that colorism doesn't exist. Like, I haven't experienced colorism. I make more than this light skinned girl in my office. So that it doesn't exist. But I work in HR. I've lived only certain places. I am also attractive to some people, right? Maybe
mm-hmm.
others say otherwise. But there's a lot of different, like, I'm thinner. So there's a lot of different things that play out for me that cater to my experience versus someone using real math and statistics and going deep into like the history. And again, like, I've only been on this earth for a certain period of time too. So there's a lot of bias that I will have myself where I could say, no, that's not true. But when you have a group of people that actually dig into that data and they bring those numbers to you, that is what I hope will change people's mind about, does colorism exist? Well, if there's this change in pay, which is a hard, like, this is real, money is real, right?
Yeah.
That's something that we can equate to versus someone saying, well, I feel like I was discriminated against because I was darker skin. So that's why I wanted to bring up this topic, because it's like a real thing that you can hold $10,000. You can miss out on $10,000, but you can't hold, I was discriminated against, or you made me feel this way, right?
Okay. Okay, I get what you're saying now.
Okay, cool. And it's hard. It's hard to, because you're like, it's incredible numbers. You don't want to think people are literally getting paid less because of something as simple as a skin tone, but it happens. People are treated differently based on how they look. Just like a Black person gets treated differently as a white person, Black people within their community and externally from other white people and other groups are getting treated differently. That's why things like skin bleaching exist. People aren't just bleaching their skin just because they like the feel of skin bleach. They're doing it because they want to gain something. They want to be on TV. They want to get opportunities. They want to marry someone. They want to get a husband or get a wife, because men and women do it. It's wild.
Yeah, and that's mind-boggling to me. Like, why? Like, why put yourself through that?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
That's
sad.
crazy.
It's very sad. But that's where we're at. And it's like, what I like to think about is, what is the solution for this? How do we get away from this? Right? How do we
Mm-hmm.
how do we stop it? Because it's like, everything I think of, it doesn't really end in this is gonna work. It's like, okay, well then what if this happens, right?
Yeah. What if? Yes.
Yes. What if?
And
Because we know that biases, they play out, and again, I think about everything in the work standpoint. All kinds of biases exist. And so it's like, okay, well, if we just start everybody out at the same pay, that's going to knock it out. But it doesn't, because people get promoted at different rates. And when you get into a company, you start doing the promotion game, every company has their own different system. They've
yeah.
got all kinds of systems. They're like, you ask them, why was this person promoted over this person? Well, they have a master's degree. It's like, okay. Well,
Right?
this person does too. Oh, they perform better. How? Show me the numbers. And then they're like, and so some places it's just literally, I like this person more. Sometimes it's this person is connected. This person knows my cousin such and such. This person is in my circle of friends. I gotta do it. This person was vouched for by the VP or whatever. There's so many different reasons.
Like in the
Depending
end,
on
there's a topic of like seniority and stuff, like how long that person has been there and stuff like that. It's it's man, it's crazy.
And you know what's crazier? Sometimes the seniority does not matter. Let's say someone's worked at a company 10 years, some brand new person comes in, they have all this, they're saying they're great and they're selling themselves, and they make more than a person that's been working at the company 10 years. Why
Exact.
is that? There could be multiple reasons though. Sometimes people are stagnant, they're not learning new skills. And then this new person comes in and they have this high hope. They're like, oh, they're going to come in and they're going to do more. And sometimes they do more than that other person, or they have a different skill set that other person had. You see this a lot in tech, especially. There's a lot of folks where they just kind of were like, oh, I'm going to use the same system and I'm going to be fine. And they found themselves laid off because there are folks with newer skills, or the company switched the system and now they don't know the system and they're having trouble learning it. And there's so many different things that happen.
Yes. Like and then I believe too, um like because of the seniority, that the seniority is because they think that the newer and fresher person is gonna do a lot better than the person that's been there like a lot longer, which that shouldn't be the case. The person
Right.
the person that's there longer can actually those people that's teach those people that's up under them, and have them try and like catch up to them, or at least pass them up, if
Right.
case, if that's what they want to do.
It depends, because when you come from the HR standpoint, there's sometimes things that you see as an employee that the manager and the HR folks actually see more of, and sometimes the employees see it. Sometimes, and not saying it's right, for these companies to pay more, I do still think that people should be on an equal footing, right?
Yeah,
But sometimes someone is more motivated. Maybe you've been there 10 years, you've been in a company 10 years, and you're just stagnant. You're just like, I'm done. I don't really want to learn anything new. I'm doing the same thing, whatever. There should be a progression. You should be able to continue to progress in your career at whatever stage. If you've been in the company 10 years, 20 years, whatever.
like, but
But
that's the case though. I don't think you should should be able to progress.
why not?
Because maybe that person is comfortable where they are, and if that person doesn't want to continue, they shouldn't have to be pressured to uh like go forward.
So I've got some thoughts on that. I disagree, and I will tell you why.
Why?
Because you are going to feel the pressure when you get to be in a place where you're stagnant. I would never tell someone, get to a place where you're feeling comfortable and just chill, because this is what can happen. Either you put yourself in a place where you're not learning, which is not good for anybody. We're people, we're human, we should be continuously learning. um, the other part of that is you put yourself in a place where, okay, the company sees you're not really progressing, you're not learning. And a lot of times in the company's mind and other people's mind, are you motivated? You're just doing your job, but are you motivated? Now, I do think that there should be different ways that someone can progress. It doesn't always have to be, oh, you have to be a manager or you have to make this specific move. Sometimes it can be taking on a different project, moving across a different team, learning a new system, learning a new something. But I do think you should be continuing to learn, especially as companies continue to shift, because companies are genuinely shifting, especially now. A lot of the companies that were stagnant, like you can think of Blockbuster, they were stagnant. Their people weren't growing. Their people weren't moving on to the next thing. The company didn't move to the next thing. If they did, they would not have been knocked out so easily by Netflix. Those are the things that happen when companies and people begin to be stagnant. You may lose your job, or you may find yourself in a layoff, not because of the company's losing finances, but because the company is growing, but you're not. And so they will do a cultural shift and sometimes get rid of the folks that are just stagnant. They're chilling, they're not learning, and they'll bring on people that are motivated. It doesn't mean that they're younger, it doesn't mean that they're this, that, but they're motivated. They're showing drive, they're showing their interest in learning, they're showing things. It's kind of reviving the culture a bit. That can all help you. I actually did a book review on the channel last year. It was pretty timely because it was right in the midst of the pandemic. And it's called Who Moved the Cheese? And I love this book because it forces you to think about what things are changing around you. I talk about on this channel automation and robotics and all these things and how it's going to change the workplace. It's not going to happen overnight, but we have to recognize the changes and we have to change. We have to adapt, because when we don't, when we stay stagnant, again, whether it's a person, an employee, a business, if I'm an entrepreneur, if I am a business, I've got hundreds of employees, thousands of employees, whatever. When you stop and you just say, we're good, we're comfortable, you become like a Blockbuster at some point, and you're privy to be, knocked out by the competition. And especially right now, think about how many new tools are out, how many new social platforms are out, how many new this and that. Like if you sleep for a day, you wake up and it's like 10 other things. It's like, oh, I didn't know about that. But this type of environment, it gets even harder. So there used to be a time, like years ago, like baby boomer generation, right? Gen X, the group that we don't really think about much, Gen X, they enjoyed a little bit of that, where you could just chill. You can make your money, work 9 to 5, bring your money, not have to change a whole lot. But now things are constantly changing. There's just no way that you can. And how I would tell you, I wouldn't be a good person if I told someone you can be stagnant and you can chill and be okay. It's not going to be okay. And if we're not upskilling and if we're not learning, how is a company going to say, I want to keep these people, we got to continue paying for these people, we're going to raise minimum wage, all this stuff, when we have a company that says these robots can do it and save you money? These people aren't upskilling. Well, you need to get these robots and save money. The shareholders are saying, we need to get these robots in because we can make more money. We're all going to make more money if we get these robots and get rid of these people. Like if you think about it from a business standpoint, you're going to understand, like, you can't be stagnant. If you own a business, you can't be stagnant. You can't.
But look at it this way too. Look at it from a manager's standpoint. Like if you have this employee that's good at this thing, right? Mm-hmm. And you have another person that's that's good at another field, but not as good but not as good as a person at the other field that the lower class was in. That person can that lower class person can teach teach a new person that way, and the upper class person can teach him that way. Like, and then it's his choice to go up, like like enjoying the upper person, or go to the lower level, or just learn both skills, like, and then just have a new set of skills, have
Mhm,
both six skills.
mhm. I agree with that. I think you can learn as long as you're learning skills. Again, I don't think it's that you have to move up to a manager position. Sometimes, and you'll hear different people. I just heard this lady say she moved from, I forget what she was doing before, but she moved into HR and now she's like the people officer at Reddit. I was just listening to her talk earlier today, but she was saying that she actually she moved, she wanted to shift in the HR because she wasn't passionate about what she was doing before. But what she did, she moved into an administrative field. And I think she had worked in like finance and some other areas, but she moved into an administrative field. So you would think that's probably a drop down, but she did that so that she could learn the basics. And so then she transitioned to move up into her role now as a people officer, which is a leadership position. But my takeaway is you should not be in the same exact position. Like you haven't got a promotion, you haven't taken on a new project, you haven't moved around and done something different because you're not learning. As long as you're moving around, if you're taking on a new project, learning a new skill, learning something, you have to be constantly shifting because otherwise, again, you're going to be stagnant and it's not going to be beneficial for you.
Like, it doesn't have to be beneficial for you. It has to be beneficial for the company, because the company may want to keep you there for teaching purposes.
Sometimes.
Yes.
So there's a period though when someone's in the same role, let's say someone's in that same role for 5 years or 10 years, because these things do happen. At
Mm-hmm.
some point, that job, that company is going to change. This is what I'm saying. At
Okay.
some point, the company will change. And for example, I've had the scenario where this guy, he was laid off. He was interviewing for a job with the company I was working for at the time, and he only knew this mainframe system.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had been working 10 years, very similar to this situation that you're talking about. Like he was the guy, he was able to describe how he trained other people. They laid him off because they switched systems
Okay.
and they no
No.
longer needed him. And this
Yep.
is what
No,
companies
that's
do all the
different.
time. Companies
Mm-hmm.
are going to change. There's always going to be something new. There's even managers that I talk to, middle management. They had to be like, they were training people, they're training new people, but, well, we got to make some shifts. Your job isn't crucial. It's not crucial. We got to make some shifts. It's business need. Now they're having a little trouble because at the time, companies wanted people that were executing or at that higher echelon of leadership where they're creating ideas, they're really leading people, versus the middle management of you're, looking over time cards or looking over, time sheets and things and supervising. We don't need that. We need people that are either leaders and that can take us and push us forward, or we need people that are actually doing things. So there's
Like, so
either way you look
between a
at it,
person,
people have to change. You cannot be at a company
like,
10,
but that still,
5, 10, 15, 20 years and expect, and here's the other end of it too. You definitely can't expect to be in the same role and actually think that you're going to get pay increases. And you need pay increases just to keep up with inflation and everything else that's happening, housing market prices, all of this. So I will never, ever, 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 ever tell anyone to be comfortable and stay in the position. I don't, and for
I
me,
ain't
I'm
saying
not
you
caring about the
would.
company so much.
I ain't
They can want you in that
would like
position for
that.
that period of time, but there's going to be a point where they're not going to need you in that position. You're going to train someone, they may be more motivated or whatever. They're going to go, oh, well, we don't need him. He can train people now and do X, Y, and Z and do this other thing. What do we need this person for?
Like, because he can, like, because that other person is the person who trained that person.
So this other person trained now. They can train the next person.
Yeah, I know. Don't you need more people to train other people?
Not
Right?
necessarily. We have e-training. We can build a whole e-training and put this person in front of a computer and they can learn the same thing.
Yeah, that's with computers. That's
And
on
now
a
this person
whole
is
nother
trained.
time,
So what they don't
whole
get from the
different
computer,
topic though.
this person that you trained or whoever trained, they can train the next person and do whatever else they were doing. Again, I'm telling you
Like
what happens. I
like
see it
numbers
all the
are
time.
no, like the more teachers you have, the better.
For what? I'm going to pay you just to teach people?
Because you can also branch out. You can also branch your branch franchises.
The other
Not
person can do
uh,
that.
uh not that not just that one person can teach everybody. You have to branch out.
Yeah, but we just talked about this person. They don't want to do anything. They just want to do the same thing they were doing. Why would I branch them out to something else? They don't want to do anything. They want to stay in the same job.
Yeah, I know. I know you do. I know they do, but still look at it this way. Like you have to like I don't see how you're looking at this.
I will never ever tell a person,
I don't.
again, I will never tell a person to stay stagnant in the same job. I will not. I'm
Oh
sorry.
my god.
You could talk to me for probably 10 hours and I would still tell
Mm.
you, you have to be learning something. You have to. And it's not good for the company in the long run because here's the thing. Why do companies pay for learning and development at their companies? Because that is not directly earning a company money. Why does Facebook? Why does Reddit? Why does Square? Why does Amazon? Why do all these companies actually pay for their employees through e-learnings, through direct learnings, in-class learnings? Why do they pay for direct training for their employees? Because they know if their employees are not trained and if they're not constantly learning, why do they want them? What is the benefit of them being there? How is that going to push them
They're
forward? Again,
training them.
they do not want, companies do not want to be Blockbuster. They want to be Amazon. They want to be pushing forward. If they
I,
have a bunch of people that are staying in the same job and are not moving forward and they're not learning, they're not contributing more and more, that is not what gets you to become an Amazon. Now, I'm not talking about if you're thinking about the people in the warehouse and such. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the people that actually push these businesses forward. Even in Amazon, I mean, there's going to be a point where they want you to move forward in some kind of way.
I'm just
Ideally.
like I'm still not getting like how you're not seeing what okay. I I'm gonna try and draw this for you. Okay, make a make a
Hey, King
okay.
of Kill. And I am so sorry. I am going to have to end this discussion because I have been on here for over an hour. I was planning on being on here for an hour. But I'll
Yeah,
let you
this
make your
has
last
been an
point before I get
interesting
off.
topic. Yeah, this has been a very interesting topic. Like, see, I like debates like this.
And I'm interested to hearing what people in the comments think. Do you guys
Yes,
think that it's better for someone to be pretty loyal, staying at the same company, being stagnant, being pretty consistent in their same job? Or do
like
you think that people should
like
be progressing, learning new skills, new
like
things, etc.?
of course they need to like of course they're teaching other people. They're teaching other people
Okay.
that skill that they need to learn to get better.
Yeah, but once, look,
They're
You can keep
teaching
saying that
other
same thing to
people
me, but I am never, again, I keep telling you this, I am
who's
not going to say and tell a person that it is okay for you to stay in the exact same job and do the exact same thing. I don't care if you're teaching other people. In the long run, it is not going to be beneficial for you or the company. And I don't care what job it is. I don't care if it is an Amazon warehouse worker. I don't care if it's someone managing people. You have to constantly be learning.
like and then first off you have to learn from the beginning. You have to learn from the
Hi,
beginning,
Fire Squad.
right?
Hi, Fire Squad reaction. Fire Squad says, you train the guy first. First, the guy gets the same training. You now have, they do not need you, so you are gone. Exactly. Exactly. You
So
do not, there is no loyalty. It's
you
not like
do
you
need
trained the
those.
first person, so we have to keep
Like
you.
like
No,
you
it's that's
still
not how
do
it
need that
works.
other person.
It's not how it
Like what if
works.
you need that other person somewhere else at a different location? So he can teach them that
Well, if
way.
that's the
Like and
case,
then keep it
if
at
that guy is in a
like and then
trainer
keep that
role,
other person
if
right there.
if that is
Or
the case, and that could happen,
see,
it's just not
that's
likely.
what I was talking about.
It's
That's
just not
exactly what
likely.
I'm talking about.
Long term, that is just not likely. It's not likely that they're just going to have this person. And again, even with that scenario, that person has to have the flexibility and motivation to actually move to different locations and do that. The person that you're describing sounded like they were stagnant in that same role. That's how you describe them. They're stagnant, right? So that
No,
means that they're typically not doing other things. They're not doing new things. So if they're actually moving to other locations, that in itself, that can be learning because they're learning, or teaching other people at new locations. But I will even tell you this, I've seen this happen to a person that was an actual trainer. Their job was to train people, and they did the same thing. And guess what happened to them? They
yeah,
were laid off. So again, you have to continue moving. And you're thinking about the company standpoint, and I'm thinking about the company standpoint, but I'm also thinking about the person's standpoint. Either way,
yeah.
when people are not learning, if everyone's just not, they're just staying stagnant, they're not learning, they're not trying
What
anything
if
new, they're
they're
not moving up, it
incapable
doesn't work.
of
It just doesn't work. And even when you have one person that's doing that, because you know what else suffers sometimes is employee morale. Everyone else busting their butt, and then they see this person, they're not learning anything, they're not doing anything, they're not doing, and it's a trickle effect. So there's a lot of things that the company has to consider when they're seeing people that are very stagnant. They don't want to do new things, try different things, learn new things,
like,
try
but they're
different
not
projects,
seeing
be
it that
promoted.
they're seeing it like, okay, I'm gonna use that person for them to teach them that that specific job,
Yes.
and then have them go over to the other place or whatever they need
I
to go.
get it. You're using that same example, and I don't know if it's maybe a personal situation that you're
No,
in,
it's not
but
a personal
I
situation.
I can see that instance happening, but in the long term, I mean, come back here and tell me. Come back here and tell me 5 years down the line if I'm still on YouTube. Maybe I won't be. But tell us what happens to that person. Tell us if they had to learn a new skill, if they had to take on a new project, which would be going and moving around and teaching different people. Um, Come and tell us if they just
Like
kept doing
I've
that for
seen this happen.
5 years and they were just
I've
fine.
seen this happen. This happens all the time at companies.
Uh-huh. Okay. Um, and Fire Squad says that's just more stuff for the manager and other people to deal with in the company. Yes. JMJ says each one teach one. Yes, that is true. But at the end of the
Yeah,
day, you do not want
and
to, and
teach
again,
one.
if anyone is watching the playback, you do not want to be the person that's staying in that same role. It is not going to benefit you in the long run, and it's not going to benefit you financially. Okay, appreciate you, Mr. Wise, for coming up. Thanks for chatting. And I'm going to bring you down. Thanks for joining the chat. And I hope you have a good night. I see you're in the security uniform, so hopefully work is going all well for you.
Yeah, it's going pretty good so far. Um,
Cool.
just getting some stuff ready for my apartment too as well too.
Oh, okay, cool. Well,
Yeah.
good luck with everything, and I hope you have a good night. And thank you so much for joining the discussion. You brought up a good point, and I'm glad you asked the question because I want people to make sure they're continuing to grow and to perform and do what's right for them, for their pay, and just for them professionally and to continue learning and such. So appreciate
Yeah.
you and have a good night, Mr. Wise.
All right.
All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that chat, and I hope you got the point from both angles. Whatever you think on that subject, again, my stance with my experience is always going to be you should be continuously moving. And again, I would also recommend people read that book, Who Moved the Cheese, because that will kind of give you an example of why it is important. Okay, I just want to check out some of the comments because I did see a few comments and I want to make sure I looked at everybody. And hey, Jazzy and Brown Girl Bella. Thank you guys for joining me this Monday. And Bella, I missed your Pat McGrath mothership conversation. I love your makeup chats. You always look lovely. How Linda was still in here. Oh my gosh, I feel like I missed all the comments, and it's too difficult for me to move up. Let me see. Megan was wrong for that. I feel like I missed a whole bunch of conversations. They recruit models on the street all the time. Oh, that's true. That is very true. Very, very true. A bunch of people laughing. They look so rough in the in the hood school. Oh my gosh, I miss all of these comments. I'm so sorry, guys. Being attractive helps and young, Swarthy said. Uh-huh. Yeah, that's very true. Very, very true. Um, Disagree with that. Beauty just promotes a woman's ignorance and doesn't improve the overall quality of the job. Oh my gosh, I wish I had seen that comment. When Mr. Wise had gotten up here, because I would definitely ask you about that. Beauty just promotes a woman's ignorance. It can. You know what? It can. It definitely can. It can. Men will and women sometimes who think when someone's attractive that they don't know what they're talking about. But on the other end, it can actually promote a woman. So it depends. It depends on what industry you're into. Like if you're in IT, for example, and you're attractive. That, Mr. Wise, I would 100% agree with. Good segue. Men apt to watching YouTube. Yeah, definitely. We'll have to talk about that. I was that too. When I wear a dress out in public, men open a door for me more often. Yes, when you wear a dress and heels, definitely. Or even if you don't wear heels, for sure. Whichever one. Okay, I'm trying to hurry up and get through here because I didn't want this to be too long. Yes, Mr. Wise, I do agree with that. An experienced person will get the job better than the person with just beauty. Hopefully, I saw that. I think I saw that earlier. Depends on the job for sure. I think it does depend on the job. Some of these comments are so funny. And yes, Jazzy, the halo effect. Yes. Okay, I'm trying to see because my phone is actually blocking part of my computer, so I can't really see all the comments here. JMJ said, gotta Yeah, no, it was an interesting conversation. Cletus Brown. Yes, very interesting discussion for sure. Yes, I'm pretty good at playing devil's advocate, I will say. Yes, I think so. Okay. And yes, I like your comments too, Fire Squad. You, that's just more stuff for the manager and other people. Yep. Okay, I think I got to most of the comments then. Great points all around. This is very enlightening. Mr. Wise, I train a crew of about 40 folks every year for one of my jobs. Wow. There will be a day when someone is able to outperform me, but that day ain't today. Well, good. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So okay. So Mr. Wise, example, JMJ. But again, I would say you're learning something. You should be learning something during that time. I don't want people to go away from this video thinking that it's okay to just like be stagnant and not learning or, learning anything in your job. Because if you're training people, you're probably learning something new ways to train them, new systems, new something that they need to learn. You should be learning all of that. Otherwise, I just don't get the point. Like, why would you want to do something if it's the exact same thing over the same period of time? I don't get that thinking. Personally, I just don't get the thinking. But yeah, maybe we'll talk about this again. I like topics like this. Well, good. I'm glad you liked the topic, Mr. Wise. And thank you again for contributing. You offered some good perspective. And we'll have to continue talking about this. We'll have to continue talking about this whole dilemma of pay inequality. Tomorrow, what am I talking about? That's what I wanted to do before. I'm trying to remember what do I have coming up. So tomorrow I will be live at 7, I want to say 7 p.m. or 7:30. I will post in the community tab, most likely, that I am live, just to let folks know. And then on Thursday, I will be talking about white and Black women and that pay inequality again. So what's the reasoning for it? I did have a few other articles pulled up. I just didn't get into them, unfortunately. So I will plan on putting them in the chat after this is on my channel. I think it takes YouTube a while to, get the video processed and everything. So I will be bringing that up. And then I do see some last comments in here. Yes, Mr. Wise, that was great, my brother. What is the name of the book again, Jessica? Oh, it's called Who Moved the Cheese? Who Moved the Cheese is what it's called. And so I think it is a good book. I'm on here longer than I wanted to, but hey, hopefully people will just play back some of the video. But it's called Who Moved the Cheese. It's a great story because it uses an analogy of two mice that don't want to change and two mice that can see the change. So it's like a maze, the piece of cheese that's dumped into the maze every time, it starts dwindling down. And you get to see how two mice react to it who were seeing the change, and they adapted quickly to that change. Like, they were learning and seeing and paying attention that, oh, this cheese is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. We need to make an alternate, like, route. We need to find some more cheese. They end up finding new cheese. The two that are very stagnant, not really pushing to move and change, they're kind of in that, I'm good, we just gonna chill here. We see the cheese get a little smaller, but it's never gonna run out. We good over here. We're cool. We chilling. The cheese is gone one day. Cheese is gone. And then they just chill. They're like, oh, it'll show back up. And it doesn't. They have to eventually change their normal process to get new cheese. And I like it because it's like the story of today, like the digital revolution. Now we have even a bigger revolution of automation happening and all these other things. The financial industry is changing. Everything's changing. And I always have to remember that because, in my field is changing. So we have to constantly be thinking about how can we stay competitive, and even if we can't get ahead of the changes, how can we pay attention to what's changing and how can we use that to our benefit, right? and make sure that we're still getting their cheese. So cheese can be the equivalent of money. It could be, cheese could be whatever it is that you want it to be, but most likely people are thinking about money, right? So that is the book. That is my quick synopsis of the book and why I think everyone should read it. It's a very short book. Oh, actually, I think I have it. I'm going to grab it. Okay, this is the book. This is Who Moved the Cheese. Short book. See? Very short. But it has a very good message. So I recommend anyone read this. The other book, I don't have it in here. But the other book is The Alchemist. The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I love that book as well. It has a different message, but something more along the lines of really following the signs and continuing on your path forward, like whatever your dream is, continuing on that path, but knowing how to pivot as you see different signs happen in the course of your lifespan, and being very focused on the goal, not being stagnant. Again, this word is coming up, not being stagnant and saying, oh, I could just stop here, but seeing that goal. Like people like Jay-Z talk about that stuff all the time. Like, you always knew it was going to happen. This was the blueprint. This was like the plan all along to get here. So that type of thinking. The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I learned about it by one of the guys that I really love, Will Smith. Will Smith talked about it, and I was like, oh, he's awesome. He's always talking about no one can outwork him and things like that. Very motivational person. So he is the one that was talking about that. Swarthy says you enjoyed it. Okay, well, I am going to shut it down, and thank you, JMJ. Just like life right now. Yes, Anthony. Yes, exactly. Just life right now, what we're living through. Shocky saying, who moved my cheese and then ate it? Right, exactly. Who moved my cheese? Paolo Lindo, and I know you've eaten dinner by now. I know that. I'm sure if you did eat dinner, you would have eaten it by now, because I know it's probably late or early in the morning there, I think. Good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and shut it down. Thank you all for being here. I will see you in my next video. I do plan on going live tomorrow night, same time, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern time, and I'll try to go live, I think, every day this week. So I won't be live on Wednesday, at least I'm not planning to, but who knows? If I see something that sparks my interest, I might come on here and just have a little chit chat. Alrighty, guys. Well, I will see you next time in the next video. Oh, sorry, real quick. I am working on making my next Who's Hiring video, so stay tuned for that. That should be posted this week once I finish editing. Alrighty, guys. See ya.